You're tuned in to Oilers Nation every day with Tyler Yaremchuk, live every weekday on the Nation Network YouTube.
Friday edition of Oilers Nation every day, coming to you live from the Sports Closet studio. As if there was any doubt, you know what our lead's going to be today. Nuge. Let's get into it. The Oilers get into the win column, right back into the win column after a disappointing loss to Buffalo of all teams. The Oilers go head-to-head with a fellow Stanley Cup contender in the Carolina Hurricanes, and they come away with the 2 points. We're going to break it all down on today's show. Baggedmilk is stopping by. It's Friday. That means it's going to be a little bro down with our boy BM. And we want to hear from you on the YouTube chat as well. The Nuges are already getting going. You love to see it. We are live on the Oilers Nation Twitter, Oilers Nation Facebook, and on the Nation Network YouTube, where we want to welcome in any viewers from Barn Burner who are watching that with Boomer. Saw they had Andrew Walker on the show today. Rhett Warner was around as well. Fantastic show the guys put on down in Calgary. Look forward to working with them throughout the season. So if you watch Barn Burner and you stuck around for this, hope you enjoy 30 minutes of Oilers talk coming your way. As always, like I said off the top, coming to you from the Sports Closet studio, where they've hooked us up with these beautiful royal blue and the away version as well. You can get yours, sportscloset.ca. And I'm watching as Liam tries to figure out behind the scenes. He's got a weird box on his camera that he can't figure out how to get rid of. So Liam will sit patiently off to the side, unless your mic works. Does your mic work? No, nothing. All right. Well, technical difficulties are going to keep Liam sidelined for a little bit here.
Can you hear me?
Oh, yeah. I got you now, buddy. How's it going? Happy Friday.
Good. Happy Friday to you, too. I got this nice little square, like you said, in the middle of me, but we're happy. The Oilers won. They played a good game, so that's what matters at the end of the day.
Yeah, that's what matters, not the square in the middle of your screen for whatever reason. Okay, we'll let you try to sort that out and whatever's going on there. Let's talk about that hockey game last night. Electronic Jordan, Dylan, Yash, everyone dropping their Nuges in the chat because it was a 4-point game for number 93 last night as the Oilers win against the Carolina Hurricanes. And what a game it was. There was a lot to not like. There was a lot to love about that effort from the Edmonton Oilers. First off, they finally scored first. First time this year, the Oilers find the back of the net at Zach Hyman from Tyson Barrie, and it was Ryan Nugent-Hopkins who picked up the second assist, his first of 4 points on the night in just over 21 minutes of ice time. Nuge had his breakout. And if you listen to this show throughout the week, you would know I was all over that. I wrote about it at Oilers Nation. We made it a big part of the show. 93 was due. He's been due, you could argue, for a couple of seasons now. If you look at his shooting percentages and his on-ice shooting percentages and things like that. And he broke through in a big way when the Oilers needed it. His 4-point night propels the Oilers to the victory. Oh, Connor McDavid, ho-hum. He had a little quiet 4-point game as well. He's probably the only player in the NHL who you could look at and say he's capable of putting up a quiet 4-point game, but that's exactly what McDavid did. He didn't have a point until their third goal, which he assisted on the nice Evander Kane marker. He picked up a second assist on Nuge's second of the year. He got the power play assist on Draisaitl's goal, a beautiful feed, and then he sealed it up with the empty netter as well. Nuge was great. McDavid, unbelievable as always. 4 points, can't complain. I thought their special teams were fantastic, and while their special teams helped them win, I thought their 5-on-5 play was just outstanding in that game. They went toe-to-toe with a legitimate Stanley Cup contender in Carolina, and they went stride for stride with them at 5-on-5. Like, you look at the 5v5 shots according to Natural Stat Trick, it ended up being 29-24 for the Carolina Hurricanes. And I mean, a 5-shot difference in some games, you might look at it and be like, oh, geez, that's not great. But I looked at the heat map as well, and like the Oilers were right there. I mean, the eye test proved this as well. I thought the good scoring chances in that game were pretty much even for the most part. We'll get the heat map for you in just a second here, but like the bulk of the Oilers shots actually came a little bit closer to the net than Carolina's. Carolina had a few more from the perimeter as well, but Edmonton again did a really good job getting to the dangerous areas of the offensive zone, and they did it against a really, really good hockey team over on the other side. Carolina, they're probably sitting there. If this was a Hurricanes show, I'd be saying, Canes didn't have their best. It was their first tough test of the year, but the Oilers gave it to them. And I really liked seeing that. Let's get into the YouTube chat here and see what's going on. Evan says Clowder is going to be expensive to re-sign. Ryan McLeod pops home a shorthanded goal, his second of the year as well. Don't look now. Ryan McLeod is on a 40-goal pace. Not that he's going to get there. But yeah, Ryan McLeod, the Oilers the Oilers would have liked to sign him to a longer-term deal over the summer. That's almost a fact at this point. They had to go with the one-year bridge deal at 700 and whatever thousand because they couldn't afford anything else. They're too strung with the cap. If the escrow gets paid off, like Frank Saravalli talked about on Wednesday's show, and the Oilers get that extra $4.5 million in cap space, I think they'd be wise to use that to make sure they get Evan Bouchard locked up and make sure they get Ryan McLeod locked up. Just give those guys some term and then enjoy value deals for a couple of years down the line. I think that would be the smart play if you have a little bit more money to throw around. But I agree with Evan in that McLeod deserves an extension. Will he be expensive? Yeah, probably not expensive. Like, even if he scores you 20 goals this year, I don't think he costs you more than $3.5 million. That's the highest to re-sign him on a bit of a deal with term. Jilly says, Oilers win, Flames lose. What a night. Yes, the Buffalo Sabres came to Alberta and dominated not just the Oilers, but beat the Calgary Flames as well. Eric Comrie had himself quite the game as well. Sergeant Battle said it once, I'll say it again. Nuge Redemption Tour with a little crown in there. You love to see it. Nugent-Hopkins absolutely do. Coming up a little bit later on in the show, I'm going to tell you who I am pegging as the next player to snap out of their slump for the Oilers, because I called it with Nuge. So I feel like now, I'm riding high. I feel like I have this special power. I will try to get another Oiler to snap out of their slump. I'm looking down here. Liam is ready to go. So Liam, I thought the special teams were solid. I thought they were good at 5-on-5. Nugent-Hopkins was the first star. What stood out to you? What did you like about the dub last night?
I think the fact they got the first goal of the game was obviously great. Like, you gotta appreciate that. So there's 2 games in a row now. They've actually started pretty well. Like the Buffalo one, obviously you don't get a goal first, but it was a pretty good way to come out. So it's good to see that trend kind of going in the right direction. And, Nugent-Hopkins on that second line, a 4-point night is not really, that's pretty good, right? Like the only thing he didn't hit was a shot prop, which was a little bit disappointing after we bet it. But overall, like, good performance. Defensively, you want to see them get a lot better. That power play goal they got scored, I think it was Nature scored, where they were so flat-footed and it came through. Like, it's a little disappointing to see, but I think gradually this team's just going to progress over and over again. And you know what? Sometimes it's good to play those good teams. Like now they have St. Louis next and Pittsburgh. Like, tougher challenges, I guess. It leads to less mistakes. So hopefully less mistakes, but like less room for error is what you want to be aiming for. And I think with those teams, that's what you're going to have to come up and play against. So overall, the toughest team the Oilers have played against this season. They came away with a win. Not spectacular by any means, but they found a way to get it done. And even when they scored late, they held on and they didn't really look like they were that much of a threat to score again, which is it's good signs, I guess, overall.
I think Dylan was riding with us on the shot prop as well. He says, only wish Nuge would have got one more shot. I mean, if you would have told me before the game that Nuge was going to have a 4-point evening, I probably would have doubled, tripled, quadrupled down on the Nuge shot prop, and he missed it by 1. If you were a Connor McDavid bettor last night, then that empty netter was just, unbelievable for you, because not only did he get the goal in the empty net, but that was his 4th shot of the game as well. And Liam, one of my favorite bets, the McDavid Draisaitl power play point parlay. That one came through last night as well.
It's going to be a big one for us this season, I think. That's the one I'm going to be riding pretty often.
I'm going to bet it every single game and see, like, at the end of the year how I'm up, how I'm down, that kind of thing. Going back to the chat here, Spiced Oil had Svech on his bench in fantasy. Yeah, just going forward, just blanket, play Svech. If he's playing, he's in your lineup. That guy is legit. He's going to take the jump from being someone who fantasy hockey players know well. You draft him in the 3rd, 4th, 5th, 6th round kind of thing. He might be a 1st-round pick next year, especially if you're in a categories league. The dude is legit. He popped 3 last night, and honestly, I know some people didn't love the 2 from outside, like the 1st and 2nd goals from Svechnikov. you can't blame Campbell at all on those. That is an elite goal scorer with a very shifty release that, man, when you give him even just a second, half a second of time, he's going to pick his corner 9 times out of 10. Those were just really, really good goals. The Martin Necas goal was basically a 2-on-0. You can't fault Campbell on that one either. And he made some big saves throughout the game. Like, we're still waiting for Jack Campbell to have a statement game here and, like, the 37 save performance kind of thing. That hasn't come yet. But I still think against Vancouver, he overcame the slow start, played well. Okay, against Calgary, he wasn't good. That's fine. Against Carolina, again, I thought he was solid. Like, he's not giving you 920, 925 goaltending, but I think that stretch will come. Last night, he was good enough to help the Oilers win, and that's fine for me. I mentioned the special teams. To me, this win, and I guess this isn't really a stunner, is the most impressive win of the season. Against Vancouver, I said it was a Dave Tippett-esque win because they got caved at 5-on-5, and their special teams had to bail them out. And I remember some people in the chat were saying, you can't blame them or fault them for having a good special teams. And yeah, like, I agree with that 100%. Their power play is going to win them, like almost single-handedly win them a lot of hockey games this year, and that's fine. But it can't be consistently the only reason you win. And when you go back to last year and that heater they were on early with Dave Tippett, how many of those games was it like, boy, they were junk at 5-on-5. The goaltending wasn't that great, but they went 4 for 5 or 3 for 5 on the power play, 2 for 4 on the power play, and they win by a goal. And you just looked at so many games and it was like, they won because their power play bailed them out over and over again. And I was worried after game 1 that might be a habit again. And that's not a Stanley Cup contender if you're just going to win a bunch of games in the regular season on the back of your power play. The win last night against Carolina, I felt like that was, in a way, perfectly balanced. You got a big shorthanded goal. You got 2 on the power play. Your power play and your special teams came through for you when you needed it, but you were also really solid at 5-on-5. And it wasn't like you just buried a couple of grade A chances at 5-on-5 either. Like, the Oilers kept up the pressure pretty consistently throughout that entire hockey game. Like, you can go through their roster and so many guys I feel like had positive games. Puljujarvi was good. Darnell Nurse, that was his best game of the season. Ryan McLeod scored a shorthanded goal. I thought he was really involved. I like Niemelainen. I like Evander Kane. I know someone in the chat said that, you're still waiting for him to get a little engaged. He had 5 shots on goal last night. I think, again, that might have been Evander Kane's best game of the season. Cece had some good moments. Connor McDavid, obviously, 4 points. Yamamoto, you're still maybe waiting to really fully get going a little bit here. But I'll share with you one other guy who I think had a really good hockey game. That was Warren Foegele going up against his former team. He laid a couple of really nice checks. He had a couple of shots on goal. I thought he was going to bury one. He didn't. Last year, he was disappointing. Played in all 82 games. There is value in that. 8.5% shooting percentage. That could probably go up a few ticks. He finished the year with 12 goals, 14 assists, averaged under 2 shots per game. This year, he's averaging 2 shots a game. He hasn't found the back of the net, but he's had some good looks. He is my guy. Warren Foegele is going to become Warren Foegele. He's going to start scoring right away. And I think he'll be a really valuable part of this bottom 6, of this third line when that happens. I loved the look of that McLeod, Puljujarvi, Foegele line. I want to see them get more minutes. And I think that's a great spot for number 37. After the first game of the year, I was a little hard on him. I didn't think he was engaged enough physically. And that's something that goes back to last year. I didn't think he was engaged enough physically on a consistent basis. That's why the dude was getting healthy scratched in the playoffs last year, is because for a bottom 6 guy, you weren't getting enough consistency out of his game. I think he's going to go on a bit of a heater right away. I think he's starting to go to the right areas. He's starting to create some havoc on the forecheck as well. And those are the 2 most important elements of his game, because when there's been times, you can go back to Carolina, you can look at last year, some of the goals he scored were goal scorers' goals. Like, he looked good putting them in the back of the net. He's got decent hands. If he hits well, and if he just goes to the net and goes to those right areas, he'll start scoring. So I think we're not getting a Nuge heater from the guy. He's not popping home a 4-point night anytime soon. But I think you're going to start seeing Warren Foegele score on a bit more consistent basis this year. And last year he had 12 goals. That's passable for a bottom 6 winger. But mixed in there, he had some stretches with McDavid. He was up in the top 6 at some points. He probably isn't getting those looks this season, but I actually think, despite that, we'll see him hit the 15 goal mark and the goals will start to come in. So Warren Foegele is my next pick to heat up on the Edmonton Oilers. I think he's just flat out a little bit due. We're going to get to our betting picks a little bit later on. I got some NHL, NFL stuff courtesy of our friends at Betway. But first, it is Friday. That means it's time for the Bro Down with Baggedmilk.
It's Friday, so you know what that means? It's time for the Bro Down with Baggedmilk.
I really got to stop just reading word for word what the intro to this segment is. But Baggedmilk, welcome back to the show.
Nuge!
That's where I'm going to start, my guy. Does anything make certain parts of you shift more than a big night from Ryan Nugent-Hopkins?
If I liked last night anymore, I would have ripped a hole clean through me trousers, Tyler. It was the exact kind of game Nuge needed. Big goal at a point in the game when we needed one. 3 assists. He was great defensively. Touches all areas of the game. Picked up a point shorthanded. Picked up a point on the power play. Like, what else did you need the guy to do last night outside of maybe winning some faceoffs?
And the chat's loving him too. We got a Nuge baby from Rusty. That was their most impressive win of the season. Fair?
Yeah, of course. I mean, the win against Vancouver was expected because Vancouver is a team that I believe the Oilers should beat more often than not. They started off poorly, came back with 5 straight goals, won the game. Last night against Carolina was a different story. Carolina's a really good team. We saw it all over Twitter of people saying, like, how much fun would this be if these two teams met in June? That's the kind of team that the Oilers went up against last night, and they found a way to win. I'm not saying it was perfect. There was still way too many gaffes defensively, and there was mistakes that need to get cleaned up. But the Oilers scored first. They grabbed an early lead, and they did not give it up. Anytime Carolina pulled themselves back, the Oilers pulled further ahead. And I think that that is something that the boys need to take forward with them into tomorrow's game against St. Louis, because it was an impressive win. And it was interesting for me to see as many people nitpicking it as we did last night because, right, it wasn't perfect. And I kind of disagree with you on the first Svechnikov goal. I would have loved to see Campbell stop that one, but ultimately the team played well and they got a win against a very good team.
Yeah, 100%. Nuge was huge. Oilers played well against, you mentioned Carolina. Like, they're really good. That blue line of theirs, I know the Oilers ended up putting home 6 on them, but, like, when you can consistently be rolling out Burns, Slavin, Pesce, Shea, come playoff team, that Canes team is going to be really, really tough to score on.
Their defense was really, really solid, and it was almost like you see how important it is to draft and develop your own defensemen. Like, I know they got Brent Burns in the offseason and all that, but like you guys you mentioned, their top guys are players that they brought in through the draft, and they're really good. So the fact that the Oilers were able to tag them for 6, I know one was an empty netter, but like that's something to celebrate here. That's a big win. That's something that we can put in our pockets and carry forward. I don't know why we're nitpicking all the wins all the time, but man, that was an impressive one, and it was a lot of fun.
Did you clean up betting last night?
Buddy, I had a great night last night. The only thing I didn't really hit was Leon Draisaitl 2 goals. That's the only thing I didn't really hit. I had Evander Kane to score. I had I'm riding with you and Liam on the McDavid Draisaitl power play point. That one connected for me. I had the Oilers to hit 2 power play goals. That one connected for me. I had over 1.5 power play goals in the game just in general. That one hit for me. So I was kind of throwing arrows all over the board, and a lot of them were coming back home with a couple of shekels for your boy Baggedmilk.
You love to hear it. What do you think of my pick of Warren Foegele to heat up next? Amongst others, I thought yesterday was his best game of the season.
He played really well, and I was actually thinking that last night where there was a play where he kind of stole the puck in the circle, and as he was falling, he ripped a pretty good shot on net, and I was just kind of thinking, I was like, man, wouldn't it be nice if the Oilers for once had the former player curse go their way instead of against us? Because you're right, Warren Foegele played really well, and I don't know where he's going to end up, and I don't know that he's going to be the next guy to go on a heater, especially since Evander Kane and Zach Hyman picked up their firsts last night. Yeah. But he's a guy that if he can get on a little bit of a run and get himself towards the 15 goal mark, that is going to be an incredibly important piece of depth scoring for the team as we walk through this season. Warren Foegele's a huge part of this club, and we need him to get going. We need him to look more like the guy that Carolina traded to us rather than the one who struggled a little bit in his first year with the Oilers.
I don't know if you saw, but our colleague Mike McKenna from Daily Faceoff had just an all-time poor take, in my opinion.
Of course I saw it.
Maybe it's not even a take. But he tweeted, "I'm forever blown away by people slugging breakfast beers in airports." For me, breakfast beers are in the top, or airport beers, I should say, are in the top 5 of most enjoyable beers. They're the best. You get a nation vacation going, and the guys are at the Chili's drinking a brewski at like 5 a.m. You can't beat it.
You and I have traveled a lot together at this point, and there has never been one time where we haven't had a cocktail to set the tone of our trip. I don't get McKenna at all. I'm a double Caesar in the morning guy. I don't care what time it is. Let's face it, airports are international waters, and the rules don't apply. The standard civilization rules do not apply there. So if I want to have a drink at 4 a.m., I'm going to do it because I know that is setting the tone and the table for what's going to be a fantastic weekend to come. Let me tell you this. When we go to Vegas in January, I'm going to have at least one double Caesar before we leave that airport. And I don't care what time that flight is.
And I got exciting news for everybody as well. We teamed up with AMA Travel for the Nation Vacation to Vegas. That thing is coming up in January. It was sold out. It was sold out. But one single spot has opened up. Nationgear.ca. You can go check it out. And if you want to come on the trip, it's a solo spot. So you're going to get roomed up with somebody, all that good stuff. But if you want to be having a airport beer with myself, Baggedmilk, Jay, Liam's coming as well. It is going to be a good time. Nationgear.ca is where you can do that. And as always, when we travel, we team up with AMA Travel because that is the only way you can do it. I'm counting down the minutes until our trip to Vegas.
They're the best. You need to grab this single spot that's available. And I know you're probably thinking, like, oh, well, I don't know if I want to be roomed up with somebody. But let me tell you, we've done this a bunch of times. We call them mosaic roommates almost. And everybody always has a good time. If you missed out on the sale to start on this trip because it sold out so quickly, snap this one up. Come with us because I promise you a great time. It's going to be a blast.
100%. Speaking of great times, great spots, great situations to enjoy a nice cold one, afternoon Oilers hockey tomorrow, a little 2 p.m. brewski. That's up on the list too.
You know how much I love a matinee. You know I love a matinee. So when I saw that the Oilers were playing at 2 o'clock tomorrow, first of all, I was surprised because I was like, oh, they're at home. I assumed they're the late game on Hockey Night in Canada. But no, 2 p.m., excuses for a couple of brewskis to start off the game, sets the tone for the rest of the day. Big Oilers win to follow. We all celebrate with Country Grammar by Nelly when it happens. Everybody's having a good time with that.
And we go to the pint for promptly 5 p.m. to begin the celebration afterwards. Thanks for doing this, buddy. See you soon for a new episode of ONR.
Amen. See you then.
Oilers Nation Radio up to 2 days a week now, Tuesdays, Fridays, wherever you can get your podcast from. If you want to hear more of myself and Baggedmilk, let's get to the wrap for today's show. We're going to get back into the chat in a second, actually, but I want to get into our betting segment for the show today. We missed on that damn Nugent-Hopkins shot prop. Missed it by 1. But Liam, I'll bring you in. How else did you do last night? What else did you have?
I just stuck with what we had, you know.
Oh, you
I
just
went
had
with the
Nuge?
Draisaitl goal.
Oh, yeah.
No, I had the Draisaitl goal and I had the Oilers in regulation. So I went 2 for 3 last night. That's pretty good. I think that's our best day so far, to be honest. So we got a lot of money there. We got plus money on both the ones that we hit. So tonight we're gonna go with the Detroit Red Wings on the money line against the Chicago Blackhawks. Let's just be honest, Chicago stinks, and Detroit's actually a pretty decent hockey team. Haven't lost in regulation yet this season. And then the other one I saw was the over in the Tampa Bay and Florida game. And it wasn't quite at the value I wanted. It was minus 154, I believe. So I found this little pre-built parlay to add Stamkos in there. He has 7 points this season already. So this one seems pretty strong at even money. So these are the two I'm going to go with tonight in the NHL.
Last night in the NHL, I went 3 for 5. I missed on the 2 Zibanejad props I bet, but I nailed the Vegas puck line, nailed the Crosby assist, and I got the Brent Burns shot prop in the Oilers-Canes game. Missed on the Nuge prop on the Oilers side of things, but that's all right. We'll bounce back on Saturday. For me tonight, I like going with, I have 3. Stamkos over 3.5 shots on goal. He's hit it in every single game. I think it's a tremendous spot tonight at plus 105. Dylan Larkin to pick up an assist. Wings should get the goal scoring going. Larkin's got 3 apples in 3 games. Plus 130 is the payout there, all over it. And I'm also, I debated taking the Lightning on the money line, but I'm staying away from that one. I have one other bet tonight, but now it's slipping my mind. What was it? What's the third game? Oh, I'm taking Colorado on the puck line on home ice. I think it's a great spot against the Kraken. The Kraken are junk. The Avs are elite on home ice. So, yeah, those are my 3. Avs puck line, Dylan Larkin over half an assist at plus 130, and the Stamkos shot prop set to 3.5. Last week, I gave some NFL bets on the show, and I did pretty well. Finished just almost up 2 full units as well, 1.9 units last weekend. And I love my teaser bets. So my best teaser spot this week, I'm taking the Steelers and the Falcons. They're both 7-point underdogs. If you tease them to +6, you're getting them up to +13. The Falcons are just against the spread gods this year. They've been unbelievable. They're taking on a Bengals team that has struggled to blow anyone out so far this season. I liked them in their win over the Saints, but that was a close game as well. And I'm also taking the Steelers. They ruined my teaser last week, so I'm trusting them to come through for me this week. They're taking on the Dolphins. The Dolphins are just ice cold right now. Pittsburgh showed that they can compete with anyone. I don't know if they're going to do it consistently. They're obviously not a playoff team or anything like that, but they're scrappy enough to keep games close. So Steelers, Falcons, +13 on a teaser. I love the Giants money line at +135. It's a bit of a trap, them taking on the Jacksonville Jaguars, but +135 for a team like the Giants, who's been such a good surprise this season. I love that. And my player prop this week is Mike Evans over 64.5 receiving yards. He basically never goes under in back-to-back weeks, so I think it's a really, really good spot here. And the Bucs should be nice and pissed off after losing to Pittsburgh last week. So Evans over 64.5, Giants money line, Steelers, Falcons on the teaser are my NFL picks for the week. Liam, do you have anything NFL-wise, or did you not have time to do that for the show?
I got one NFL pick for you. And it's the New York Jets on the money line. Jets are playing Denver this week on the road. I actually don't even care where they're playing. Denver suck. Jets are actually a decent team. So I'm going to take the Jets. And then last time this season, are we riding the Elks?
I am
Plus
not. I didn't do it
BC.
last week, so I'm not doing it now.
I'm in on the Elks. Trey Ford is winning. Winning the Elks game. He's ended the streak at Commonwealth, and the Elks will get their first win as the Elks at Commonwealth. So I'm going to go with that. No one's going to like it, but I'm riding.
You see this? This is my confidence level in this wager. It also might be the amount of points the Elks score, although I do like Ford as a quarterback. Surveyor Brett, why are you talking about NFL betting on Oilers Nation every day? Because it's Oilers Nation every day with Tyler Yaremchuk, Brett. I can do whatever I want. It's the internet. Ski Bum says, go Broncos. My Bills are on a bye week. Anyways, we'll wrap up the show with a couple more comments here. And yes, Brett, don't worry. We'll get it back onto hockey. Chris says, and I like Chris. He's been good with his analysis in the chat over the last couple of days here on the show. Pool Party, Fogle, and McLeod is a big, fast line that can be a good checking line. And you know what? Puljujarvi, good defensively, made some nice plays in his own end yesterday. McLeod can be the driver offensively. If Fogle can be that hard forechecking physical presence, that's actually a really nice, well-rounded third line that can probably produce more than some people think. So I love that. Sergeant Battle, should the Oilers just move RNH to the wing and keep him as a top 6 winger? Yes. Yes. Yes, yes. He is, at this point in his career, you can use him to win faceoffs on the PK. He's a really good penalty killer, but just keep him as a winger in the top 6. Let him be a complimentary piece to Leon Draisaitl because it works. I want to see Nuge again tomorrow and for the next, how many games left? 78, 77? I'm not good at the math right now. Keep Nuge as a winger at 5-on-5 the rest of the season. Yash says, Canucks for Bedard. Man, it is trending that way. The Canucks with another loss. They are just absolutely in shambles right now. Who do they get this weekend? I honestly, though, at this point, like they're 0-4-1, I think is their record. It's getting to the point where they're probably due. They're playing Buffalo tomorrow. I bet you Buffalo's the sexy pick right now. I bet you the sportsbooks undervalue the Canucks. They're back at home. Buffalo's played great for 2 games. Maybe we'll talk about it tomorrow on the show. When the line comes out, check it out on Betway. They're our betting sponsor. Might be worth taking a look at the Canucks money line tomorrow. That is an emerging storyline here on the show that we will follow up tomorrow. Also, tomorrow, here's a tease. We're going to be betting Warren Fogle anytime goal tomorrow. I'm going to put my money where my mouth is on that. I promise you that. That's going to be a wrap. The Oilers get a big win against the Carolina Hurricanes, move back to 500 on the season at 2-2, and they will look to go to 3-2 tomorrow against the St. Louis Blues. It is a Sherwood Park Giant game day tomorrow on the show, so we'll be back at noon. Myself, Jay, Liam, it'll be a good time. Also, big shout out to our guy Alex Allard. Killed it on the production this week, and to Baggedmilk for joining us. Everyone in the chat as well. Hit the like button. Hit the subscribe button on the Nation Network as well. We'll talk to you tomorrow to preview Oilers Blues. Have a good Friday night.